How are you guys doing tonight? Well, my name's Angela and I'm going to be doing a persuasive speech. I'll be addressing you guys as the NCAA board and coaching staff that's in the room. So my purpose today is to try and convince you to try and maintain the amateur status of NCAA college athletes. As we know, Title IX is what limits NCAA on regulations, and Title IX is more so a federal law on giving what coaches can and can't do, as well as NCAA, their college board, so the staffing that we do and what requirements are needed for college athletes to be accepted into the university. Before I start, I want to start off with a quote from Michael Jordan saying, "Never say never, because limits like fears are often just an illusion." I want you guys to think about that quote, just because we as the NCAA board, we're putting limits on our student athletes by stating you can only do such and such. You can't, classes are this requirement, classes are that requirement. Whereas we have outsiders thinking that we're limiting our students by not paying them such and such an amount like they would be in the pros. Whereas we're not looking at it as students are getting paid in scholarship money. That's the money that they should be deserving. So to begin, some of the problems, like I mentioned, are Title IX is one of the things. We have coaches that are breaking Title IX rules, such as SMU or more so even Baylor, by basically cradling our students, cradling the players, not allowing players to take classes. We're giving players, teachers are taking the classes for the students, such as, or even enrolling students in basket weaving classes. This is something that we're breaking as in Title IX. I'll touch base on that a little bit more as we follow along the presentation. It said that with scholarship and income, in an article by Times Magazine, it says that to imagine that if you're getting paid a $100,000 salary, and that's given to a college sport, quote unquote, to an employee, whether playing football or basketball, in reality, they're getting on average of $720 a year of just income, of, I guess, extra spending money, because their income would be about $65,000 to $64,000. That's with tax deductions. Whereas on the flip side, a student athlete who's just getting scholarship money is getting $64,380 without tax deductions. So we gotta look at the bigger picture. Would you rather have the student be an employee of the school and get paid, 65 with tax deductions, that haven't been counted into that, or would you rather have the student athlete stay a student athlete and get the scholarship money without tax deductions? So that's a biggie that we kind of got to look at as the board of NCAA. We also need to focus more on students' education. That's one of the limitations that are being caused because students are coming out of school, or more so not finishing school. So they're finishing and they're getting, when you ask them, hey, what have you learned? They'll say, oh, all I've learned in college is that I've learned how to play football or I've learned how to play basketball. They can't tell you that I graduated with a college degree, a college diploma, and I can go out and run my own business. That amount of students are able to say that has started to decline dramatically. So back to our main focus, the student athletes are not employees. Also, along with that, following that would be educations and classes. Because the reason why I want to bring that up, education, is because media has brought it to our attention from The Atlantic back in 2011 that they stated that the NCAA, we're wanting to crush the kids. We're not trying to help the kids, but we're wanting to crush the kids. The reason being is, like I said earlier, is with us cradling the students, having them taking basket weaving classes, or like the situation at SMU where the coach allowed one of the faculty to take the student's class for him because he was a star athlete so that he could pass, because he couldn't pass on his own. So that's one of the reasons that are a big negative that comes upon and makes our organization, NCAA, look really bad, as well as the coaching staff at the school look bad. Also with that, we just really need to make that statement go away. So we really need to be more on top of what our students are taking, along with winning games. Big quote unquote is winning the games. Following with that would be the solutions. We have organizational skills has to be better, from coaches, players, to the college board, all the way down. Everything has to be positioned right. Everybody isn't doing their own job. So with that, a big solution to that organizational skills, I want to come back to saying games. There was a good portion of during March Madness where students were having to miss 1/4 of their class schedules. They weren't able to attend classes because March Madness was extended so long that it was interfering with classes. So that's something that we as an organization need to do better of scheduling around the students. We need to be helping them rather than hurting them. Along with that, whenever March Madness comes around, or even when playoffs comes around for football, with all the different Rose Bowls and all the different bowls that occur for football, we gain profits. So why not, for that profit, give back to the students, give them a higher stipend, because with students being in school, their school practice games, they don't have any time to go to work, they don't have any time to get extra money, and if they have parents that, can't help them, why not get them a stipend for them to get books, food, have some spending money to go hang out with friends, whatever the case may be. So with the profit that's coming in, why not give back to the students rather than hide that money and make it seem like we're affecting our own students. We also need to have a distinction between level of play. There needs to be a distinction between college basketball, semi-pro basketball, pro basketball, overseas basketball, or whatever sport it may be. We need to have that distinction. Because another thing with that would be media is taking it as we as NCAA are using college athletes as our quote-unquote our liability waiver for the students in cases that are brought up, because that allows us to win our cases, because these students are considered students, not employees. Along with that, just to change the atmosphere, we need to make sure that, students stay student athletes, not faculty or staff. I know I keep pounding that, but that really needs to stay that fact. We can't end up changing that, because then it will come down to affect whether, you have other level of competition to play in college. You have NAIA, you have JUCO, you have the different smaller schools with community college, like you have NJCAAs, all these different organizations. If NCAA decides to start paying their student athletes, why would it be wrong for all these other smaller organizations to start paying their student athletes? There needs to be a ground zero where everything just needs to stay there. So therefore, following the Title IX regulations, that's what we need to do. We need to stay on top of that, and we need to make sure coaches, players, staff, everybody sticks to Title IX. Title IX is what is holding ourselves together and shaping everything together. So before I end this, I want to kind of give a personal experience. I myself am a student player at the NAIA division. Yes, there is a distinction. We don't get as much scholarship money, we don't get enough stipend money as in NCAA organizations would, D1, D2, and D3. But I want to say, from my personal experience, I'd rather have it as where we're still on the same level of competition as NCAA. We're still doing the same thing, we're still competing, but just the difference is that we're not getting paid. So why not leave it as that ground zero and leave us as student athletes rather than changing us into employees, because I would rather be a student athlete than an employee. So to end my speech, I want to say only a man who knows what it is like to be defeated can reach down to the bottom of his soul and come up with the extra ounce of power it takes to win when the match is even. And that's said by Muhammad Ali. And the reason I want to say that and end it with a Muhammad Ali quote is that, we can't keep beating down these kids and expect them to stay positive, to stay, hey, I'm playing for the NCAA. Let them finish their 4 years before they go off and go pro. We need to kind of give them their education and let them be able to grow and build themselves before we start bringing them down. So we gotta let the students find themselves and not hurt them. So with that being said, that's my speech, and I hope you guys stick to, keeping student athletes, maintaining our amateur status. So thank you for listening. Enjoy the rest of your